Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see here, I'm on a suspiciously sunny day for January in Germany, but I'm here to tell you all about my new project car. As you know, until now I've had the E39 5 Series and it's been a great car. It took me everywhere, never let me down. Been on the Nürburgring with it and made a lot of videos. But now I finally managed to get a car that I always wanted, and today I will show you which car that is and what my plans are with this project and where I want to go. It's going to be an OEM Plus, and more about that see in the video. There will be more than one video, so this is just part one. So keep watching and you'll see what's coming next. So this behind me is actually my project car, the 740i BMW E38 from the year 2000. I actually found this car in Munich last year in June, and I said I must have this thing. I like this car since I first saw it in 1999 in Germany, and I said one day I'm gonna get me one of these. And last year I finally managed to get me a car that I always wanted. So I found this one. The engine is not in a very good shape, but the bodywork was completely redone. Everything was stripped out, and the metal and everything was treated in case it had any rust or issues like that, remade and completely repainted. Even the flooring, even the insides, everything was repainted. So not just superficially, but everything. And so I said, yeah, it's a good car. At least the bodywork is in perfect condition. Actually, this paint is called Sepang Bronze. It's also a BMW paint, but from newer models like the X1, X3, the 3 Series, the newer 3 Series, the Fs. So I like it. It's a cool color. It's quite fresh, just 1.5 years old. So now I gotta get to work at everything else on the car, and with also some OEM Plus mods, which I will show you in a bit. What you can see here behind me are actually two V8 engines, the M62B44. This one is actually the engine with which the car came, which, as I told you before, was not in a very good condition. And this one is a new engine, well, second-hand engine, but much better, which I bought last year in October, I think, and it's in very good condition. So what actually happened? This engine behind me, which was in the car, had a small problem sometime in its life, as the old owner of the car told me. About 1.5 years before I bought the car, he changed the chain tensioners from inside the engine, the plastic ones that usually give up after some time. The problem was he changed them because they actually broke. The original ones actually broke, and all the plastic from the tensioners got all through the engine, which is not a very good situation. But the engine ran anyway, and it ran pretty well. So he changed the chain tensioners, but he didn't tell me, or he didn't know that they broke. The mechanics that changed them didn't tell him. I don't know exactly the story, but the point is, when we opened this engine up, we found lots of plastic bits all over the engine, especially in the oil pump, which actually kind of destroyed the oil pump. Even though it's plastic, the oil pump still has a lot of scratches on it when we opened it up, and it's not okay to run it anymore. So I'll have to get a new oil pump anyways. And above all that, I don't know who worked on this engine, but whoever worked just made a really big mess about it. Everything was with silicone on the gaskets, and some gaskets weren't even there, just silicone, and it started leaking all over the place. So someone who worked on it really made a really messy job. The other engine on that side is actually only 160,000 kilometers, which is not much for this kind of engines. And it was never worked on, so never opened. All the seals are in place. All the screws have their markings from the factory. So it's a pretty good engine. Okay, right now I just cleaned those, which are the valve covers, and they're going to be repainted. Even the plastics I will repaint as well. I'm not sure what color yet, but I'll figure that out later. The car is on the lift right now because we are testing some mods, some OEM Plus mods, to make it a little bit more spicy, because that's how I like it. I want to make the car specifically for my needs and my desires, let's just say. So right now we are testing some wheels. I'm just doing a test fit, measuring my offset and exactly what size goes over the new brake calipers and discs, which I will show you in a bit. So these right here are the new calipers and new discs. As you can see, they're quite a bit bigger than the ones that were here before. I'll give you an example. These are the original discs, and those are the new ones. These calipers, even though you can see it says Mercedes-Benz on it, they're actually Brembo's. You cannot buy from Brembo these or any other calipers straight from them because, you know, licensing for the manufacturers that actually use their discs, their calipers. So these are Brembo calipers, but only for Mercedes-Benz. Actually, it's a Mercedes GLE 63 AMG, the car that those came from. And those are the only ones that actually fit on the E38 because there is a company in Germany called Epitech, which actually builds and sells you, if you want to do this conversion, they sell the caliper brackets, especially for these kind of calipers, only for these ones, no others. And for the back ones, I'll show you in a bit which calipers are used for the back. The discs, however, are vented, floating, and perforated discs from a BMW M5 E60. These have 374 millimeters in diameter. They actually fit perfectly on the hub of the E38, and only in conjunction with these calipers from the GLE. The pads I went for also Brembo's, but Brembo ceramic pads, so I will not have so much dust on my new rims, which I will tell you about when they actually get here. That will be in a new video. The rear discs, however, are also a BMW M5 E60, but the calipers, as you can see here, it says Porsche. Well, it's actually they are from a Porsche Panamera. These are the only ones that fit with the Epitech bracket on the hub of the E38. So you must get the Porsche Panamera calipers in order to fit with these kind of discs. It's an interesting combination, but it looks much better in my opinion than the OEM BMW that came from the factory, which actually I have right here. So these are the OEM calipers from the factory and next to the Porsche Panamera ones. So quite a considerable difference, and these are actually fixed calipers, so they have pistons on both sides, 4 pistons, and these, the OEM ones, actually have only 1 piston on one side and they're a floating caliper. In my opinion, these should perform much better and they look better. Forgot to mention in the front, the caliper actually has 6 pistons and it's also a fixed caliper, so I think it looks much better and will perform even better. I will show you some more parts that I have for this specific application. As you can see here, there's a gearbox. As you know, the BMW 7 Series E38 comes with an automatic 5-speed gearbox. However, I'm planning to change that. This is actually a 6-speed manual gearbox from ZF. Now, as some of you might know, the E38 comes with the ZF 5-speed automatic transmission from the factory. And in very rare cases, the 740i and the 735, I think, and some diesel versions also come with a manual transmission. In the diesel version, they have a 5-speed, from what I know. They also come with a manual transmission, but very rarely on the 740i's non-facelift ones with the M60 B40 engine, which is actually the non-Vanos. Manual transmission is actually the Getrag 420, which is not actually built anymore, and it's quite rare to be found because it comes on these 740s, very rarely, non-facelifts, like I told you, the M3's E36, the M3's E46, and the M5 E39, and also the 540i, but very rarely. Now, the M5s, they all came with the manual transmission, but the 540s, very rarely. So actually, if you're looking to get one, it's not so common. They can get up to 2,000, 2,500, depending on the kilometers of the car and how it's been used. And another thing to mention, the Getrag 420 only goes to 499 Newton meters of torque. So technically, it cannot handle more than that. Why am I saying that? Because I'm actually planning on upgrading a little bit the engine, and it'll go a little bit over that torque numbers. And I planned on getting a different kind of 6-speed manual transmission. And I went with that transmission down there, which I showed you before, which is actually a ZF transmission called the ZF GS6 53DZ. The DZ comes from a diesel engine. BZ comes from a petrol engine. I went for the diesel version because it can handle up to 700 Newton meters of torque, even more actually, 750 or so. So in theory, it should handle a lot of torque for my application. And it's also the case that the ZF gearboxes are still made and you still find parts for them. And the Getrag ones are not made anymore and no more parts are available in case something breaks or you want to change some gearing. Not going to happen. I told you about the gearbox. In order to make this swap for the 6-speed manual gearbox that I told you, it's a bit complicated because this engine was never paired with this gearbox. The gearbox actually comes from a E60 530D, so that's where I got the gearbox from. In order to match that gearbox with this engine, you actually need an adapter plate, and that adapter plate comes from a company in Poland which does mostly adapter plates and clutch kits and all this stuff for this kind of pairing, especially BMW engines with BMW gearboxes. They also do some pairings with Audi, but not so much. They're called the PMC Motorsport, and you can find the adapter plate which actually comes for the M60 engine. Either it's M60 B40 or a B44, it works. They're the same mounting points. And you can put the GS6 ZF gearbox on this engine. So it actually works. I will show you the adapter plate right now. Now, all of this is not actually everything that you must do in order to make this pair possible. You actually need to change the crankshaft, which for now, it's a bit too short. You actually got to make it longer. You got to actually extend the crankshaft and then calibrate it so it works perfectly and smoothly with this gearbox. Aside from that adapter plate, in order to make the gearbox work with the engine, you also need a clutch, right? So I needed a clutch which will actually handle the torque that the gearbox can handle. So a little bit better clutch than the normal standard ones you normally get on the 740 or even 540. I went for a racing clutch from Sachs, which is actually viable up to 800 Newton meters of torque, which is quite a lot, and being a racing clutch, it will be a little bit hard on my foot, but then again, I'll just get used to it. Probably a little bit sketchy first time when driving it, you know, in the first gear, because it's hard to leave the standing still, but that's not a problem. I will get used to it. But on the long run and on the Autobahn and going on back roads, it should be perfect. It's actually a Sachs Stage 1 racing clutch. I will show that just a moment. Another change that I wanted to make for this swap, it's not necessary, but I wanted to, was getting a short shifter. You can also go with the 540i shifter, manual shifter, which works perfectly for this car because it's the same one used normally by BMW from the factory with this car. The same shifter went on the 540 and on the E38, 740. But I went for a Rogue short shifter, which I actually managed to get from Rogue Engineering from California. It's normally made for the E39, but since it's the same shifter for those as well, it works perfectly for the 740. And you can adjust it, and it has a really good weight to it. It's an excellent shifter. I will see how it works and show you that only when everything is put on the car and it's drivable. For now, I'm not there yet, but I'm going there as fast as possible. Another thing that I've done to the car was actually prepare the whole underbody from the car, just in case I get into rainy conditions and stuff like that, even though I don't plan on using it in the winter or even being in a winter country. I'll see about that. But we've treated the whole underbody of the car with the best coating I could find for rust protection and stuff like that. So this is how it actually looks under right now. No exhaust and no crankshaft. Everything is out because we're planning on putting the engine back up as a complete assembly. So engine, crankshaft, gearbox, and exhaust headers. The exhaust headers I will show you in a bit when they actually come here, because I don't have them right now, but they're on order and they should arrive here. They're actually a quite interesting set of exhaust headers. You'll see. Now a little bit of an update. The headers actually arrived a few days ago. These are the only options of headers that I could find for the E38, and they're made by the Super Sprint. They're long tube headers, and I'm sure they're going to sound great. They will also help gain a few horsepower, not very much, but at least they will sound good. Here's a quick unboxing of the headers, and since they came like Legos in the box, I will also have to put them together and see how they look. I won't be able to mount them on the car just yet, because I have to first connect everything, gearbox to the engine, crankshaft, see how long it is, and figure all that stuff out, and then put the headers on the engine and then the whole assembly up in the car. But that's going to be in a different video, so keep watching and see how this evolves. So this is the end of this video for my project, and the first video that I've let you know on what my plans are and how everything will change with this car. All the updates will come along the way. I will let you know on everything that I'm doing to this car, and as I progress, everything will be on the next videos. So subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will be informed when I upload new videos on this project and how it progresses and what else I'm getting to this car done and how everything will turn out. So see you in the next video, hopefully with new updates.